How's it going, guys? So first of all, just want to say sorry for the lack of videos. Been extremely busy this week, had a lot of shit to sort out, so I've not really had that much time to cover boxing and make some videos, but I'll do my best. A few things I wanted to talk about. First of all, basically the aftermath of the whole Triple G Kell Brook situation. Now, as you guys all know, Triple G stopped Kell Brook in 5 rounds, and since that, heard a lot of interesting things from a lot of different fighters. First of all, it's funny to me how as soon as Triple G fought Kell Brook, before this fight, everybody was saying that he was going to destroy Brook, and all the opponents of Triple G were still ducking him. Nobody wanted to fight him still. But after the fight, and the funny thing is, it really goes to show how highly everybody thinks of Gennady Golovkin, that all because he took a couple of uppercuts and a couple of combinations that got a reaction from the crowd. Because of that, he has supposedly been exposed. I watched Maxwell Bear's video the other day where he was talking about fucking fantastic video, man. He was talking about how every fighter in the world must have been exposed every single time, like they took a shot, every single time they had a difficult fight, or every single time they hit the canvas. Because if Triple G getting hit with a couple of uppercuts and getting maybe staggered a couple of times is an exposure, then that really says a lot about boxing, doesn't it? I mean, if fighters get knocked down, or if fighters have difficult fights, or if fighters go the distance, then they're pretty much all been exposed, haven't they? I mean, before the Kell Brook Gennady Golovkin fight, I told you guys from day one that I don't think it's an easy fight. I told you guys that I think that Kell Brook's speed advantage will be significant. I think that in the fight, having a hand speed advantage will it'll obviously lead to Gennady Golovkin getting hit. Okay, you can check any of my videos. I said Gennady Golovkin would get hit. I said that Kell Brook's speed would be an issue. So, the fact that Gennady Golovkin, who is an offensive-minded fighter, a guy who comes forward and a guy who's aggressive and who is taking the initiative, it doesn't surprise me that he took a few shots, okay? I mean, especially when he's fighting on the road against a very, very game, very determined, undefeated world champion in front of that guy's crowd. Of course, it's going to be a situation where Kell Brook is going to want to land something and get the crowd excited and get the crowd on his side. He's obviously not coming to lay down. He's coming to fight. So it doesn't surprise me that he had his moments. But at the end of the day, he got walked down and he got stopped. Now, when you stop a guy in 5 rounds and have his corner throw in the towel with his eye all messed up, come on, that's not an exposure, guys. Okay, was Triple G exposed all because he took a couple of uppercuts? Really? I mean, yeah, I'll admit Triple G does get hit. I've always said he gets hit. Okay, we all know that Triple G is not. He's not a defensive fighter, okay? He's an offensive-minded fighter. He's a guy that comes forward, a guy that takes risks, okay? He's got fairly decent skills. He's got good defense when he uses it, but he's not a defensive fighter, okay? He's a fighter that's always gonna get hit at times. So, like I said, yeah, it's not an exposure, okay? Anybody saying that Triple G was exposed all because he take a couple of shots, it really goes to show your lack of understanding or your bias, really, because, as Maxwell Bear said in his video, was Erislandy Lara exposed when he got knocked down by Alfredo Angulo? Was Mayweather exposed when he took a couple of punches from Shane Mosley and he was hurt? Come on, guys. When a fighter gets hit, that's not an exposure, okay? Especially when that fighter's been hit before and you know that they get hit. Come on, guys. But nonetheless, many potential opponents for Triple G at 160 actually seem to agree that he was exposed. I think a lot of these guys, after seeing Kell Brook have somewhat of a success in that second round, after seeing him land some punches, I think that Billy Joe Saunders and Danny Jacobs and Chris Eubank, I think those guys have maybe taken a little bit of confidence from that, because immediately after the fight, Danny Jacobs was claiming he wants to fight Triple G now, and he's saying he'll take the fight next. Billy Joe Saunders posted a video online standing with his belt. I'm sure most of you have probably seen it already. You're saying that, he's saying that he wants to fight Triple G now, and after he has his fight in October, which is already scheduled. I don't know who he's gonna fight, but after he deals with that fight, he says that he will accept any date that Triple G gives him. According to Billy Joe, that is what he's gonna do. He's gonna accept any date that Triple G gives him to fight. So I'm just thinking, because Triple G, I heard a rumor that Triple G's thinking about fighting in December, and I'm just thinking, would Billy Joe Saunders take a fight just 2 months after his next fight? Well, I'm assuming that his next opponent isn't going to be anybody world class if that's the case. But I'm just thinking to myself, would he take the fight in December if he was offered it? I suppose it all depends on whether the fight in October is a hard fight. If he just blows the guy away in a round, then I guess there's no issue fighting 2 months later. But if he has a hard, grueling 12-round war, then I can't really see him fighting just 2 months later against someone like Triple G. But I don't know. In regards to Danny Jacobs, the WBA have said that they're gonna make him mandatory. They're gonna mandate that fight. He's entitled to a shot at Gennady Golovkin, being the super champion. And that's a good fight. I think that Danny Jacobs, and I've said this in previous videos, you don't have to agree. I think Danny Jacobs is a difficult fight because with Gennady Golovkin coming forward and with him being offensive minded, he's always gonna get hit. And Danny Jacobs has one punch knockout power, right, in both hands. Okay, Danny Jacobs is a very, very big puncher, so that's not an easy fight. Difficult fight for Triple G if that fight goes ahead. Danny Jacobs is certainly gonna make Golovkin pay for those little machismo moments where Golovkin drops his hands and lets these guys land a few shots when he doesn't think they can hurt him. I mean, if he does that against Danny Jacobs will certainly make him pay. I think it's a good fight. I would love to see it. Hopefully that fight does get made. Obviously, Gennady Golovkin would take that fight in a heartbeat. And of course, Eubank Jr. has been, saying a few things, just trying to get his name out there. He's one of these people, Eubank Jr. He's a tabloid individual. He says something and he just tries to get his name in the paper, basically. Like, he said something controversial about Kell Brook's team throwing in the towel. He said something like, "My corner doesn't own towels, so we would never quit." And it's funny to me because when Eubank Jr. fought Nick Blackwell, there was an interview with Eubank Sr. where he actually said, if it was my son in there, if Nick Blackwell was my son, I would have thrown in the towel. So clearly Eubank Jr.'s corner does own towels. They're just trying to wind people up. That's what the Eubanks do. They try and get under people's skin. They try and wind people up. Doesn't work on me. Okay, I'm too cunning for that. I don't let idiots like that wind me up. Okay, because that's all he's trying to do. And he's trying to get he's just trying to get his name out there. He's trying to keep himself relevant without fighting. So yeah, that's what he's been doing. And he seems to. I don't know whether he wants to fight or not. Maybe he does. I mean, he didn't sign the contract before, but perhaps this has given him a little bit more incentive to take the fight. But I don't know because Kell Brook, I think, is a much better fighter than Eubank Jr. in terms of just boxing skill and defense and speed and everything. But Eubank Jr. is taller than Golovkin and has longer arms and has those very, very dangerous uppercuts that he throws. And I do think that he can. And I've made a previous video about this. It's still on my channel. You can check it out if you like. I do think that those uppercuts will be a big problem for Ggg because Golovkin. As I said, when he has those moments where he wants to act all macho and show his chin, when you've got a guy that's a precision puncher like Eubank Jr., he's very precise with those uppercuts. Very dangerous, okay, very dangerous fight, and perhaps Eubank Jr. understands that, and maybe he does want the fight now. Maybe he'll wait a little bit until Ggg gets older. I don't know. But yeah, these are all good fights for Triple G if they happen. I mean, would he really want to fight Eubank Jr. at this point after the way that Eubank Jr. fucked about the first time by not signing the contract? I think GGG would, because honestly, I think Golovkin he wants to. I think he wants to punish Eubank Jr. for doing that. I really do. I think that he wants to knock him out for messing him about before. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see whether he gives him the fight or not. As far as Saunders and Jacobs, as I said, they're both great fights. I think GGG beat Saunders, but it ain't going to be easy because Saunders is very, very tricky. He's a southpaw. He's a good counter puncher. He's got good timing and defense. So it's not going to be easy, particularly in the UK, because in the UK, Saunders will obviously have the judges on his side, as we saw from the Kell Brook situation. Kell Brook, one of the judges, I believe, had Brook ahead, and the other two had it a draw when clearly Golovkin was winning the fight, clearly. But just being in the fight and just being competitive was enough to get Kell Brook some of the rounds. So, I think that Golovkin needs to be aware of that. He needs to understand that if he's going to fight Saunders or Eubank in the UK, it has to be a knockout. Okay, he has to win the fight by knockout, or he ain't gonna win. And I'm sure he's planning to win the fight by knockout anyway, but that isn't always going to happen. Sometimes you have to be prepared to go a hard 12 rounds, because, some fighters are just very durable. Some fighters just have great defense. So I think Golovkin, he needs to be very, very cunning about how he goes about fighting these guys because he could get robbed. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think anyway. Do you think that Gennady Golovkin should fight Eubank after all the fucking about? Do you think he should just tell Eubank to go away? Do you think that Saunders would be the best fight for him next? I personally do. Yeah, if I was to choose one fight out of those guys, I would definitely choose Saunders. Because obviously he's got the other belt, so that'll make Golovkin. If he would win the fight, that would make Golovkin the undisputed champion officially. In regards to Danny Jacobs, Golovkin has nothing to gain from the fight. Like he won't be able to gain a belt or anything. But it's a very, very good fight for the fans. That's a very explosive fight right there. Two of the biggest punchers in the middleweight division, in my opinion. I'm sure fans of David Lemieux would disagree, but I personally think that Danny Jacobs hits harder. And I think he's a better fighter than Lemieux too. So that'd be a very dangerous fight for Golovkin and a very good fight. Great fight. Let me know what you guys think. Who would you prefer to see Golovkin fight at 160? Do you want to see him move up? Let me know. Was Golovkin exposed? Was he exposed because he took a couple of punches? I mean, if Golovkin was exposed, what the fuck was Danny Jacobs when he got knocked out by Pirog several years ago? And I know that's a different Danny Jacobs. He's not the same anymore. But I mean, that was an exposure, wasn't it? Getting knocked out. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.